Stay committed to wealth and your business. Hey everyone, it's Wolfgang. So the economy's a little bit slow right now. This video is about staying on the path to building wealth even if the economy is slow and you're tired of the economy being a little bit slow. Consumer spending is down. People are concerned about their jobs. That's affecting their spending, their willingness to buy things. But people still buy needs even when the economy is slow. That's a critical factor in what I'll present here, attaining wealth over time. So it takes time to build wealth, even if the economy is slow. There are a couple things you can look at to keep going, to motivate yourself to keep going. The first thing, assess your company. Are you making sales? Even if things are slow, are you making sales? The answer is probably yes. Are you providing a need, something that people need? In a slow economy, this is much more important. People do buy things they want. That's called discretionary spending. It's spending that people don't have to do. They don't have to. People buy things they don't really need. That's discretionary spending. They have the discretion to say, I want that if the economy's good. I'm not going to buy that if the economy is soft. If you're providing a need and you're making sales right now and the economy's a little bit slow, you have to keep going. You have to keep going because what you have to look at the alternatives. What are your alternatives, right? If you answer yes to both these questions, you're making sales and you're providing a need, you have to keep going because people need you and you're making money. Those are the two most important elements if you find it a little bit challenging to motivate yourself to keep going. Sales might be slow. Maybe you've had to close a couple of locations, but you're still making revenue. Even if you're breaking even, because a better day will come, even if the economy is a little bit slow right now. You have to remember wealth is built over the long term. It doesn't happen overnight. There really are no overnight successes. I'm going to give you an example in this video of a actually more than one, at least two really long-term success stories that took many, many years, but boy, did they turn out well. Rewards come after patient actions, taking actions and committing to being patient about it. You can't be in a hurry. If you're in a hurry all the time, are you drinking too much coffee, right? So take it easy on yourself. Be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day. Many things take a long time before you succeed. A college degree takes 4 years, right? Weight training, if you decide to build up strength, that takes years. It takes a long time for your body to build up muscle. Scaling a business from scratch takes years, right? So here's the secret about this process, about attaining wealth. Patience is extremely valuable. Patience makes you wealthy. If you're impatient, if you're always in a hurry to get things done like tomorrow or today, instead of having a 1-year plan and then a 5-year plan, you set yourself up for not unhappiness, but disappointment. You have to think in terms of what is possible in the short term and making sure you take the actions, patient actions, over the short term to meet those goals, but also have long-term goals, 1-year goal, 5-year goal. And you start off with the commitment at the beginning, saying to yourself, as long as I'm making sales and I'm providing a need, even if the company's only breaking even, I'm going to keep going. Look at your alternatives. If you decided to stop, what would you do, right? So you keep going. Many things take a long time to build up. Here's an example, Coca-Cola. We all know how wealthy people have gotten owning Coca-Cola stock. Warren Buffett is a good example. This company was founded in 1886. The first year in business, it earned $50, $50, only $50. First year in business for Coca-Cola, it had $70 in expenses the first year. Coca-Cola lost $20 in its first year. Now, if you were living back in those times, $20 was a lot more than it is now. And that would have been a huge disappointing thing that would have made you question, why am I doing this? I'm spending money to do something. It's losing money. Why would you keep going? And the founder of this company kept going, and the company changed hands over time. 18 years later, in 1904, it was founded in 1886, 1904, 18 years later, it was still only earning a few $1,000s a year in revenue. Almost 20 years later, and it's only making a few $1,000s in revenue. 33 years in business, after 33 years in business, it was making about $12 million a year in 1919. It took 33 years to start making any sort of reasonable revenue. And of course, that's not profit. That's the revenue. Expenses came out of that. All the expenses to operate the business came out of that. So this took decades of patience. And what this means is, number one, you set a goal. I want to become wealthy. Number two, you say, I'm going to have to be patient. If you're not a patient person, you're going to have to, study how to become patient with activities. If you're learning to play a musical instrument like guitar, for example, you're not going to sound like a professional musician after 6 months, maybe not even after a year. Even if you practice all day and every day, it's still going to take you years to become proficient enough in that's just a musical instrument. That's just an object that doesn't change. It's an unchanging thing, and yet it still takes you years to become proficient enough to be considered a professional. So you have to start wealth building with the idea that I'm going to be patient. I'm going to commit to a long-term process, a long-term commitment, and I'm going. In my opinion, you should focus on being in a business that provides a need. Eating, like food, is a need. Anything medical related in the health industry is a need. So you get the idea. If you're providing a want, okay, in a slow economy, you can really take a hit on sales, right? But if you're providing a need and you're making sales, people need you and you're making money, so you keep going. So Coca-Cola kept going, and this is sort of an unusual company because while it's true people need to drink fluids, they certainly don't need to drink sugar water effectively. In the early days, this did have coca in it, but that came out of it. They took that out of it, and it was reduced basically to a sugar water formula. Not really a need, and yet they kept going. And we all know what that company earns these days: billions and billions and billions a year in revenue. It's all over the world. They expanded globally. So it takes decades of patience sometimes to become successful. There was a family who lived near some of my relatives. They started in the late 60s building fiberglass bathtubs. Starting from scratch, they didn't know anything about that business. They ended up, and they worked really hard in the beginning. The founder brought his three young children into the business to help him, lay out fiberglass, cut fiberglass cloth, and build the bathtubs. And that company sold not so long ago for just a huge amount of money, a few $100 million. I think it was several $100 million. Starting in the late 60s, they committed to a long-term growth plan, and they were very patient. And it was very slow in the beginning, just like Coca-Cola. So another example of needing patience to become wealthy: real estate. So I've covered this before. My very first video on my channel was the first real estate property that we bought. It was a foreclosed 9-unit apartment building that we did well with, but it took a while. We didn't know what we were doing. In real estate, step one, you buy a first property. You have to wait, let the property appreciate in value, refinance it because real estate generally goes up over time, refinance it and pull money out and buy a second property. And you can scale your business over time. Over a long period of time, you can end up owning a lot of rental property by scaling it up this way. Because after you buy the first, you refinance, buy a second one, and now you have two. And of course, you have to wait. You have to be patient. You can refinance both and pull even more money out and buy additional property. And each time you buy another property, it adds fuel for refinancing to be able to pull money out to buy additional properties. And that's how you scale. But you have to be very patient at the beginning. Some people start with a single family home, and they're just very patient. Patience is worth money. Being patient when you're pursuing wealth is extremely valuable, and a lot of people are not patient. A lot of people are impatient, and they don't realize it's killing them in terms of trying to build wealth. Being impatient in wealth building can set yourself up. You can set yourself up for disappointment, and you want to avoid that. So some things I could not fit on the board. So one of the things about building a company, if you're making money and you're providing a need, is, the truth of the matter is there is a bit of there's a tedious nature to doing the same thing, showing up in the office every day, doing the same thing. At some point, you know everything in the business. And if you're the sort of person who really likes variety, intellectual stimulation, if you like change, if you find yourself being unhappy if things stay the same for long periods of time, you need to work on that if you want to build wealth in a business. Because in a business, you're going to be doing a lot of things that don't really change that much from day to day. You have to be willing to be patient and tolerant if there's not a lot of variety in your workday. You can take time off from work after work hours. You can find things to do that will stimulate you. But when you're at work, you have to focus on doing the work well and sticking with it. So what sorts of things build wealth? You have to focus on income-producing assets. In my case, what our family did, not long out of college, we started investing in rental properties. We were operating a friends and family investment fund. We were operating a consulting company that provided consulting to technology companies in Silicon Valley. We had a lot of irons in the fire, and we did quite well by that. But those were all needs. People need housing. People with money need to be able to invest their money successfully and get a decent return. And technology companies need things built, and they don't always have the in-house talent to build it. So they hire consulting companies to help their employees as needed. So if you're, even if the economy is a little bit slow, if you're making sales and you're providing a need, keep going. The right attitude to have is patience is very valuable. If you're providing a need and you're making sales, patience over the long term is extremely valuable. You can get rich with it. Here's another example. SpaceX started in 2002. Elon Musk founded SpaceX in 2002. It took 6 years before he had a successful launch. He started in 2002. Not until 2008 did he have a successful launch. He delivered a payload to low Earth orbit. So, the millions he spent, he lost at some point in the early days, like the first or second year, he lost $7 million in equipment. He had to abandon it at Vandenberg Air Force Base because the government would not give him the go-ahead to continue his plans to do launching. So in the early days, he really had a lot of setbacks. It took 6 years before he had the first successful launch. It took 18 years. So he started in 2002. 18 years later, in 2020, it took that long before he was able to launch astronauts into space. 18 years, right? So he started that company. You have to understand that he recognized it was going to take a lot of patience. He was starting from scratch. He was not. He had a physics education, but he was not a rocket expert by any means. So you go into a business saying, "I'm going to provide a need." Even if I'm only breaking even, if sales are happening, even if things are slow, I'm going to keep going. And in Elon Musk's case, it took 6 years to get to a successful launch with a lot of failure in the first 6 years. So right now, starting from nothing in 2002, SpaceX is worth $400 billion. I just read this today that its valuation is about $400 billion. $400 billion. So 2002 to 2025 is 23 years from zero to $400 billion. So patience is very valuable. Being patient will pay you as long as you're providing a need. So in SpaceX's case, low-cost launching ability was desperately needed. NASA was never really good at low-cost launching into space. Cost overruns, inefficiencies, it was a government agency. So at that time, when SpaceX got going, they were cheaper by half compared to the nearest competitor in terms of the cost per launch. The nearest competitor was double what SpaceX charged for each launch. So it's worth $400 billion now. But if you do a search on list of dates SpaceX nearly failed, you'll find a long list of failures that they've had along the way. Some really heartbreaking. They get very close and then it just falls apart. So it really tries your patience. You have to go into business building wealth. You have to stay committed. Try to do something that is a need. And even if things are a little bit slow sometimes, and they will, that does happen, you say to yourself, I like what I'm doing. I know what I wanted when I started this. I'm going to keep going. Right now, the economy is a little bit slow. So I wanted to motivate people to hang in there. Things will turn up. Things are going to improve. So stick with it. If you have any questions about this, I've got a lot of experience in this. I've had ups and downs like we all have. I'd be more than happy to answer questions if you post in the comments. And I really want to thank everyone for watching and have a great day.